So what actually is embodiment? For those of you that are interested in growth or healing and self-development and all of these delicious, juicy things, you may have come across this term and been exposed to multiple different definitions of what this term is, or developed your own understanding, which is all fantastic. However, I am making this video because I had a very funny experience of doing what I call net caring. So my coach, George Cow, who is a beautiful, heart-centered, authentic business coach and has helped me actually have a business that I want to be in, encouraged me into a practice called net caring, which is really connecting from the heart with people that you might be able to support each other in your businesses. And it's a deeper philosophy than that, but that'll do for now. And I opened up a net caring conversation with somebody who is in the manual healing arts. And when we met, he had this like really suspicious, like back to me, shoulder to me kind of, who are you and what do you want? Which I was very surprised. I haven't experienced this before. And it came from the fact that I had called myself an embodiment coach, and his experience with this was really in a zone of the personal development world. As those of us that are in it know, it can be amazing and it can be terrible, and these kinds of things can happen. And he'd had exposure to basically embodiment being an umbrella term for people who were practicing quite sexualized, predatory kind of styles of engaging in the world. And that really took me aback. I was like, oh, okay, I better get really clear. And I am really clear on what this means to me and why I believe it's important and why I want to put my voice into the world of explaining my perspective on it. Because I think there's a lot of confusion. There's also a lot of curiosity. Well, didn't you already do yoga, or don't you exercise? Isn't that just being in the body and embodiment? And what is the need for a conceptual framework of embodiment? So I see embodiment as a philosophy, a practice, and an orientation. So before we dive in deeper, I firstly want to get a definition on the table. If you look at the actual word, it splits into M-E-M, we could put an apostrophe, body, and then another apostrophe, another apostrophe. They're not even apostrophes, they're hyphens. Language. M hyphen body hyphen ment. The M, the E-M suffix, what this means is to cause or to put into. So to cause, to create or put you back into your body. And meant at the end denotes an action or a resulting state. So the action of putting yourself into your body, the action of being in your body as a result of something. I believe many of you listening to this and many people in the world understand, have some kind of intuitive sense of why this is so important, that we actually put deliberate, intentional attention on this topic. So this will make a lot of sense, this need for this. And I have seen clients do things or report to me things like working for hours without going to the toilet or taking a drink of water, working through massive sickness, working through pain. And many of you might be familiar with that. You see that kind of thing going on where people push down the needs or experiences of their body in favor of other things. I even had a friend tell me proudly about someone that he'd seen for her job show up on a massive legal court case and basically start giving birth. And this was seen as, wow, she's such a strong Trojan, incredible woman. Isn't that amazing? And da-da-da-da-da. Without throwing the baby out with the bathwater of that perspective, I don't see this as a good thing. Okay, to be denying natural bodily processes, to not be willing to give them some sense of priority in our culture is Part of the reason we are in the mess that we're in, disconnected, disembodied, disillusioned, disappointed, and depressed. The flip side of this is that we also are disconnected from the pleasure that our body can actually bring. And so, harking back to my story at the beginning, it's not simply sexual pleasure that we're talking about here. The pleasure, sensory pleasure of sipping a hot cup of tea, of jumping in the ocean, of hearing bird songs. To my mind, our body, when we are present to it and tuned into its experience, is the instrument through which we experience abundance, the beauty of the world, the gifts of what it is to be human. There are many challenges that come with it, as we know, and there are gifts, which if we disconnected from the very thing that defines us as a human, which is being in a body rather than being in the realm of our spirit, we are missing out on. And I think this is terribly tragic. Because this has happened, and I see there being two main reasons for how this came about, and there may be more. I'd love to hear your perspectives on this. Let me know what you think. One is the spiritual traditions that we've been in, which have prioritized spirit over body and elevated the mind and the spirit above the body. And so we have stopped learning how to use our body as a vehicle for being in the world, engaging with it through pleasure and interpreting and understanding the signals of pain or distress, and then adjusting as we need to. Even for myself, embodiment has been my entire life. I've always been oriented this way. But I also studied Vipassana very young, which is a body-oriented practice, the SN Goenka tradition, to a degree. So the fundamental practice is about tuning in to bodily sensations, but the philosophy of it is that we take a cold observational stance. Body sensations come and go and they don't mean anything and you shouldn't engage with them, to the point where people started sitting for hours and hours and hours in massive amounts of pain. And there are other things. I love Vipassana meditation. I still practice, but the culture around it that developed has some unfortunate consequences. When I started to learn about modern somatic approaches, so somatic just being another word, soma meaning the body, but we use this word, words have power, words are vibration, words are deliberate. A somatic philosophy, a somatic orientation, somatic treatment modes take a very different orientation towards the bodily sensations, and we practice being with them with warmth instead of coldly observing them. We give them place and importance in and of themselves. I think the second aspect that has contributed to this disconnection is the capitalist paradigm. And some of the examples I gave before about people feeling pressured to work through moments of deep need from their bodies through pain, childbirth, many other things. I'm sure you can think of your own examples, is an example of this. Okay, we just eat to energize, to produce. We sleep to get up, to produce. That idea that our bodies are just machines that we can dictate. At this time, it'll be like this, it'll be like that, and I can just override what it needs. This separates us from our true nature. And so this orientation back towards ourselves actually reconnects us with a very fundamental, essential nature. All of this sounds, as you hear it, quite simple, I think. I don't know, you can let me know. But I said at the beginning, it's a philosophy, a practice, and an orientation. So the practice part, philosophically, we might be able to grasp all of that. But practicing being present in the body, practicing understanding and interpreting the body's signals, practicing honoring all of that is actually quite tricky. So that history of disconnection has meant, and I see this time and time again in working with clients. I have some clients that cannot identify that they're having a sensation in their body. They have no language for it, which is another step. So you can sense without language, but they're not aware that they're sensing. Then even if they are sensing, they don't know how to put language to that sensing. So embodiment practice is really learning how to sense, how to name and be with that sensing, and how to do it in a way that is warm and connected and honoring and brings us back to our natural state, which is being in the aspect of us which is human, and allows us to connect out to the world. So as a philosophy, embodiment for me is not denying, denigrating, making bad the experiences of our body. As a practice, it's learning to sense, it's learning to hear, it's learning to be with what is going on in the world of senses inside my body. And as an orientation, it's my belief that this is my primary purpose, my primary instrument for how I can actually engage with, interact, and experience the world and contribute to the natural harmony of the world in which I live and you live and that we share. I believe that if we learn to become embodied, to practice the art of coming back into our bodies and to be in a state of being in our bodies, that this can help us to contribute towards deeply changing and remedying and healing the disembodied, disconnected trajectory of culture and the world that we are currently on. Thank you for your time and attention and your patience and your engagement and your embodied connection with me in this moment. Maybe right now you might tune in and just notice something that you feel as a result of connecting, engaging, listening to this material. If you do watch this all the way to the end and something has arisen for you and you have the time, I really love to engage. Questions, thoughts, feedback, please feel free and welcome to share openly. It's super helpful for me to, one, it's beautiful making all this content and I get to connect a bit more, and it's really helpful as I continue my practice in creating and sharing these concepts, these ideas, this content, these practices. And the more I know from you, the more helpful, hopefully, I can make all of this over time. Honoring your embodied sovereignty, sending you warmth and resonance, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon.